Welcome to the Hometown Histories Spotlight Podcast, where we discuss videos on the Hometown Histories channel. So, without further ado, here are Max and Lila.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a trip back in time to 1936, following the journey of Moon High School's very first graduating class.
Yeah, and get this, we're going to be diving into their story through this incredible video script.
Oh, I love a good primary source. Tell me more.
It was produced by Greg Houston and researched by Bobby Vestal-Wall, also with Greg Houston, and hosted by Shannon Perrine.
How cool. Okay, so 1936, big year for these students. Obviously, graduating high school is a big deal, but what else was going on in the world? Help set the scene for us.
Well, picture this. It's the middle of the Great Depression. Times are tough, right? But these students had another challenge to contend with their senior year. The coldest February on record.
Seriously.
Seriously. The North American cold wave of 36. We're talking the most brutal February in North America, like ever.
Wow, I bet those winters in Pittsburgh were no joke to begin with.
Oh, you can say that again. Pittsburgh got slammed with almost 63 inches of snow that year. Can you imagine?
63 inches? That's almost as tall as I am.
Right. And remember, this is on top of the Depression, already making life difficult. Imagine dealing with all that snow, impacting jobs, families, everything.
It's hard to even fathom. And then to top it off, just a few weeks later,
bam, another curveball. March rolls around, temperatures spike, and suddenly all that snow is melting. Fast.
Uh-oh. I'm sensing some foreshadowing here. This can't be good.
Yeah, not good at all. The Great St. Patrick's Day flood, the Ohio River crested at a terrifying 46 feet. It was the worst flooding Pittsburgh had ever seen.
Talk about whiplash. Record-breaking cold 1 minute, devastating floods the next.
And this flood, it didn't just disappear overnight. It had a long-lasting impact. In fact, it directly led to the construction of the Kinzua Dam.
Kinzua Dam, that's a pretty massive project.
Huge. It was designed to prevent that kind of catastrophic flooding from ever happening again. But here's the thing. Get this. It took almost 30 years to build. They didn't finish it until 1965.
Wow, 1965. That just goes to show you how massive that flood was, the impact it had. Okay, so we've got the class of 36 already dealing with the Depression, then getting hit with this crazy winter weather, and then a historic flood. And if that wasn't enough, they're about to graduate into.
Right into the teeth of the Great Depression. Remember that 25% unemployment rate we talked about?
Oh, right, yeah.
Imagine being a young person, eager to start your life, get a job, and bam, you're facing an economy where 1 in 4 people is unemployed. It was a tough time to be looking for your first job, that's for sure.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. These weren't just statistics. These were the realities these young people faced, the uncertainty, the limited opportunities, and yet they persevered. They were graduating into a world that seemed to be falling apart, but they still had to find their place in it.
It's wild to think about everything those graduates were up against, even before they tossed their caps in the air.
And while they were navigating those local challenges, don't forget about the global scene. Things were heating up over in Europe.
Right. 1936 was the year of the Berlin Olympics.
Exactly. And you can't talk about the 36 Olympics without talking about Hitler. He saw the games as a way to push his whole twisted ideology, you know?
Yeah, I can only imagine how tense things must have felt. Like the whole world was watching this clash of ideals play out on the athletic field.
Absolutely. And those young graduates about to head out into that world, they were watching too. It makes you wonder what they were thinking, what kind of impact it had on their outlook.
Speaking of those games, the video script mentions a story that I think really highlights the complexities of that era, this mix of hope and despair.
I bet you're talking about Jesse Owens.
You know it. This incredible athlete shows up in Berlin, a 23-year-old African-American man ready to compete on the world stage.
And compete, he did. He won 4 gold medals. Talk about defying the odds.
Right. And the best part, he did it right in front of Hitler.
Oh, absolutely. Owens' victories completely shattered Hitler's myth of Aryan supremacy. It was a huge blow.
Such a powerful moment in history. But then here comes the gut punch. The script mentions how even after his Olympic triumph, Owens came home to a segregated America.
Sadly, yeah. He even faced discrimination after his victory.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? They had this big celebratory banquet for him at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City.
Oh, no, don't tell me.
They wouldn't even let him in the front door.
You've got to be kidding me. After all that, that's awful.
It's heartbreaking. Here's this national hero proving to the world what he's capable of, and he's still denied basic dignity because of the color of his skin. It's a stark reminder that progress isn't always a straight line.
It's a tough pill to swallow, that's for sure. And this is the world that the Moon High School class of 36 was graduating into. It makes you wonder if they felt that same mix of hope and frustration as they followed Owen's story from afar.
It really does make you think.
Let's take just a minute from this spotlight to mention the Old Moon Township Historical Society. This group is interested in learning about, sharing, and preserving the history of Moon Township, Pennsylvania, and its role in the southwestern Pennsylvania area. The group meets regularly in the real world.
Nice.
You can find them on Facebook, where there are over 800 members, or visit their website at moontownshiphistoricalsociety.com. That's moontownshiphistoricalsociety.com.
Cool. Everyone, especially our listeners, should check them out.
Yep. Back to Jesse. He was the man.
Yes. But while Owen's victory was a beacon of hope during a dark time, we can't forget about the storm clouds gathering on the horizon.
You're talking about World War II.
Exactly. The shadow of war was looming large, and it wouldn't be long before it touched the lives of everyone, including those graduates, in unimaginable ways.
It's heavy stuff, for sure. And sadly, the threat of war wasn't just something those graduates saw in the headlines, right?
World War II hit very close to home for Moon High School. In fact, according to the video script, more than 130 students and faculty members ended up serving in the war.
Wow, over 130. That's a pretty significant chunk of people, especially for a smaller community like that.
It really is. And it just goes to show you how this global conflict had a very real, very personal impact on this small town.
Absolutely. And I bet the impact was felt even more strongly when you consider that of those 130 who served.
12 of them were from the class of 36.
You got it. These young people who had just faced down the Depression, witnessed Hitler's rise, and navigated all the social changes of the time, they were now being called upon to defend their country.
Talk about a generation facing some serious challenges. They had barely started their adult lives, and they were already thrust into a world at war.
It's incredible to think about. And of those 12 classmates who served, the video script points out that 11 were young men, and one was a young woman.
A reminder that war affects everyone, men and women, families and communities, in profound ways.
It's a sobering thought, and unfortunately, as we know all too well, war comes at a price. The script goes on to share that of those 12 classmates, 2 of them never made it home.
It's tough to hear, even all these years later. These weren't just names on a page. They were real people with real lives, dreams, aspirations, cut short.
It's a tragic reminder that history isn't just dates and battles. It's about the human cost of these events, the individual stories of loss and sacrifice.
Exactly. And those stories, they deserve to be remembered, not just as casualties, but as the young people they were, full of life, potential, and a future that was stolen from them far too soon. It makes you think, what would those 2 classmates have accomplished if they had been given the chance? What kind of mark would they have made on the world?
Their stories, woven into the larger tapestry of 1936, paint such a vivid picture of a world in transition. We see the resilience of a community grappling with the Great Depression, the uneasy hope in the face of growing global threats, and ultimately the sacrifices made by so many in a time of war.
And as we reflect on this journey back to 1936, maybe the takeaway is this, that history isn't just something that happened a long time ago. It's the story of us. It's the story of our parents, grandparents, and all those who came before us. And their experiences, their struggles, and their triumphs, they continue to shape the world we live in today.
I couldn't agree more. The story of Moon High School's first graduating class, it reminds us that history isn't just about what happened in the past, but it's about who we are today. And that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Hometown Histories Spotlight Podcast. Visit and subscribe to the Hometown Histories channel on YouTube and find us on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you.